In 1935, Hitler reveals a brand new air force, the Luftwaffe, with thousands of planes. He expands the army, reintroduces conscription. He is tearing up the old treaty, piece by piece, while Europe watches. And here's the crucial moment. Britain and France protest, but weakly. They are traumatized by the First World War. Their populations do not want another conflict. Leaders fear domestic unrest. They fear economic strain. They fear the memory of trenches and slaughter. So they hesitate, and in that hesitation, they teach Hitler a lesson he will never forget. Push, and they step back. Then Hitler makes his moves. The Saar region returns. Then the Rhineland, demilitarized under Versailles, is reoccupied by German troops. This is a major breach, a direct challenge, and still no military response. Some even say Germany is only reclaiming what is rightfully hers. When Berlin hosts the 1936 Olympics, the world sees smiling faces, ceremonies, flags, a disciplined society. Many outsiders interpret Nazi Germany as firm but fair, a government restoring pride, not threatening anyone. Yet, inside Germany, signs of darkness are already visible. The Nuremberg laws strip Jews of rights, forbid marriage between Jews and so-called Aryans, isolating a community with cold bureaucratic precision. The world notices, but many look away. Because it is easier to look away. And while Europe focuses on Germany, another fire is already burning in Asia. Japan, a rising power with deep contradictions. It has modern industry and ancient tradition. It has political structures that look democratic on paper, but military influence runs deep. The emperor is revered as a living god by many. Japan's population grows rapidly. Its industries hunger for resources. But Japan lacks the oil, coal, and raw materials it needs. Leaders look outward. They see Manchuria in China, rich farmland, minerals, coal, a solution. In 1931, Japanese forces in Manchuria seize the capital Mukden and sweep across the region. They do it without properly informing their own elected government. A puppet state, Manchukuo, is proclaimed. The last emperor of China, Pu Yi, is dragged from retirement to serve as a symbolic ruler. The League of Nations condemns Japan. And Japan responds with a move that should have shattered the world's confidence in the League forever. Japan simply walks out. The League has no army, no enforcement, no real teeth. It can speak, but it cannot act. And Japan learns the same lesson Hitler is learning. Aggression works when no one stops you. China itself is divided, locked in conflict between Chiang Kai-shek's nationalists and Mao's communists. Civil war weakens resistance. Japan expands further. In 1937, after a provoked incident, Japan launches a full invasion of China. It is brutal. Cities bombed indiscriminately. Shanghai becomes a nightmare of siege and destruction. And after the capture of Nanjing in December 1937, the violence reaches a level that shocks the world, a tragedy of mass killing and assault that becomes one of the darkest chapters of the era. Western powers protest, but do not intervene. Even when Japanese forces attack foreign ships, including the sinking of the American gunboat Panay, the response remains restrained. The world is still haunted by the First War. Leaders fear escalation, so Japan continues. And once again, global institutions look helpless. Meanwhile, in Europe, another dictator has already shown how easily democracies can be tested, Benito Mussolini in Italy. In 1922, Italy is unstable, strikes, unrest, fear of revolution. Mussolini organizes fascists, marches on Rome, and the king invites him to form a government to avoid civil war. Mussolini consolidates power, crushes opposition, launches public works, modernizes infrastructure. He becomes a model in the eyes of some foreign observers who admire his apparent efficiency. But Mussolini wants more than domestic control. He dreams of a revived Roman Empire. His target becomes Ethiopia, then called Abyssinia. In 1935, Italy invades. Ethiopia's forces are no match for modern artillery, tanks, and air power. The League imposes sanctions, but they are weak. Britain and France hesitate. They do not want conflict. They do not want to risk their Mediterranean positions. They do not want to fight. Ethiopia falls. Emperor Haile Selassie goes into exile. The League's failure becomes obvious to everyone. A small nation appeals for help, and the world offers paperwork and sympathy. Mussolini learns the lesson. Hitler learns the lesson. The world's fear of war is making war more likely. Then comes Spain, the so-called rehearsal for the conflict to come. 1936. Civil war erupts. Vicious, bitter, ideological, families split, communities torn. General Francisco Franco leads a nationalist uprising. He needs to move troops from North Africa to Spain. He turns to Hitler. Germany's aircraft begin an airlift. Mussolini sends forces too. Germany's Condor Legion tests modern bombing. Guernica is devastated, becoming a symbol of a new kind of war where civilians are not spared. Britain and France declare non-intervention. They fear triggering a European conflict. But Germany and Italy intervene anyway, openly and increasingly, while the democracies stay cautious. Stalin sends limited support to the Republicans, partly to resist fascism, partly for his own strategic reasons. Volunteers from around the world join the international brigades. But the Republican side fractures with internal conflict. Franco's forces, backed by modern equipment, grind forward. By March 1939, Madrid falls. Franco wins. And the international impact is massive. Hitler and Mussolini conclude the democracies are weak. Stalin grows doubtful the West will stand against fascism. The stage darkens. Now Hitler moves even faster. He has rearmed, refined tactics, developed armored warfare concepts, supported by officers pushing fast combined arms operations. He has the Luftwaffe. He has confidence. Next target, Austria. In March 1938, German troops enter. Anschluss. A sovereign nation disappears into the Reich, largely bloodless. The West protests, but does not act. Then, Czechoslovakia. The Sudetenland crisis. Hitler claims he must protect German minorities left outside Germany by Versailles. He threatens war. Czechoslovakia mobilizes. It has fortifications. It is not helpless. Yet Britain's Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain believes peace can be saved through negotiation. He flies to meet Hitler. Twice. Hitler assures him that if he gets Sudetenland, he has no further demands. In Munich, September 29, 1938, Britain and France agree to hand over Sudetenland. Czechoslovakia is not truly represented. Chamberlain returns waving paper, declaring peace for our time. But what Germany really gained was not just territory. It gained fortifications, strategic depth, and proof that pressure works. And here comes the next twist. Even that was not enough. March 1939. Hitler takes the rest of Czechoslovakia, pushing beyond German-speaking regions, seizing non-German territory. Now the illusion cracks. Britain and France finally realize appeasement has failed. Poland becomes the next focus. Hitler demands Danzig and a corridor link to East Prussia. Poland refuses. Britain and France promise they will declare war if Poland is attacked. This is the line in the sand. Yet Hitler calculates that even if they declare war, they may still fight weakly. But Hitler has another problem, the Soviet Union. A two-front war was a nightmare. Stalin, watching the West's hesitation, tries to negotiate with Britain and France, but talks are slow, distrustful, uncertain. Stalin decides on a shocking alternative. On August 23, 1939, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union sign a non-aggression pact, with secret protocols dividing Eastern Europe. The world is stunned. Ideological enemies become temporary partners. Now Hitler is free. He orders preparations for invasion. The German army gathers. Plans are finalized. And on the evening of August 31st, the decision is set. This is the moment the world slips over the edge, because by now, the forces that started in 1918 have completed their work. The myth of betrayal, the humiliation of Versailles, the collapse of economies, the failure of the League, the lessons of Japan, Italy, Spain, the hesitation of democracies, the false comfort of appeasement, the shocking pact of dictators. And then, September 1st, 1939, German troops cross into Poland. The Second World War begins. But if you've followed this road carefully, you know the deeper truth. Poland was not the true beginning. It was the ignition point. The fuel had been poured for 2 decades. And the most haunting part is this. At several points along the way, the world had chances, real chances, to stop the escalation early, when the cost would have been smaller. Yet each time, fear of conflict encouraged delay. Delay encouraged aggression, and aggression demanded an even greater price later. So what really started World War II? It wasn't just one invasion, one speech, one signature. It was a chain of choices made by nations exhausted by war, trying to preserve peace through hesitation, and accidentally building the conditions for the biggest war in human history. And that leaves us with one final thought that stings. Sometimes the path to catastrophe is not built by hate alone. Sometimes it is built by fatigue, denial, and the desperate hope that someone else will deal with the problem. But what came next stunned everyone, because the war that began in Europe would not stay in Europe, and the world was about to discover that the price of ignoring the warning signs was far higher than anyone imagined.